Yes, sir.
It's Rich from the auto auction.
Oh, hey, what's going on, Rich?
Hey, those cars I sold for you about 32 days ago,
Yeah.
if you would have brought me the titles, it would have been nice. But
Well, I'll tell you what, it'd be really nice if there was a way to somehow send them to you digitally because I'm up to my neck in all kinds of stuff right now. You got time to meet me at the gate?
I'm Rich Levene, and this is Meet Me at the Gate, where we're not just talking theory, we're tackling real world problems head on, driving solutions that supercharge productivity and team dynamics. Every episode is a journey towards improvement, empowering you, the manager, to lead with innovation and confidence. Join us to transform everyday roadblocks into highways for success. Hey, Ty.
Yep.
We've been trying to get those mystery unicorns to come on the show. The ones that have all the knowledge in the world. They know about all the stuff that you and I probably don't know.
Yeah.
And we have to ask them, hey, can you come on the show? And we try to lure them.
Yeah. Bait. Bribe.
Yeah.
Bags.
Well, I don't know what we did this time, but we've got.
We don't know what we don't know, right?
Please. But we've got one of the best front office people on our show that we've ever had. We're never going to have a better front office person. I'll just write it down right now. We've got Tonya Price with us. She knows accounting. She knows front office. She knows titles. Did I mention she knows titles? She knows front office. Did I say titles?
Yep, titles.
Titles. So Tonya, welcome. And we need help. Ty and I need help. We're going to ask you all kinds of questions. Ty's going to help me ask the questions that I should ask that I'm scared to because I probably should know the answers.
Okay.
But the first thing I got to ask is, I have a general idea, but why are titles so important at an auction?
It's kind of interesting to me that we still have a piece of paper that follows a vehicle everywhere it goes, right? I mean, some states have went to electronic titles, but we still have this proof of ownership. You got to have proof of it belongs to you. You have the right to sell it. You have the right to transfer that ownership. So it does have a huge value in the history of the vehicle. However, it still amazes me that we have a bill of sale, a birth certificate, a piece of paper that travels along with vehicles. Some titles or some states are going to electronic title states, but we haven't seen much of that, in recent history. So very important to, again, proof of ownership.
I believe Texas is flipping to electronic titles in July of 2025. It's 25 or 26, but it's July 1.
Yeah, as is Michigan. We just went to ELT state, so we are now no longer printing titles if there's a lien on the title, which Michigan has always done. They've been a lien holder state for quite some time, and they're now slowly transitioning. So that's step one of going to electronic title situation.
So what's the difference between a paper title and an electronic title?
So an electronic title is the ownership records are held in a database until a paper title is requested, if it's ever requested. If a lien is on the vehicle, a title is never going to print, right, until the lien is paid off, and then the title will print. The state of Florida is probably one of the first that went on electronic title. And as an auction house, what we will do if your state is an electronic title state, you physically go into the state's database and you advise the state that the title has transferred ownership. I like it because it shows proof of the transfer and immediately. You have some titles that have multiple reassignments on the back, and you may not know who the ownership of those are if you pulled a state record. So electronic titles, I think, are the way of the future.
Is this something where it's going to be like a database where we log in? I'm a dealer. I'm bringing a car to the auction and I sell it. Mm-hmm. And then what do you do as the auction if it's an electronic title?
You will, once the vehicle is sold and the sale is complete, you will physically go into that database, into the state's database and or NMVIDIS. We can talk about NMVIDIS in a minute, but you will go into the state database and you will advise the state that it's transferred and here is the new. So you would put in name, address. If it's a retail transaction, there'd obviously be more information that you would have to put in. But from dealer to dealer, you would put in, they obviously know who the title is in the name of at this point in time. You would put in the new dealer's information with their dealer's license number and the date of sale, of course.
Is this going to help speed up the process at an auction?
I think so. Some of the dealers are really concerned about it, though. The dealers are, they're used to having that piece of paper in their hand. They're used to having control. They don't understand it. And because of the what's happening in Michigan right now. There's still a misconception from our dealer group that we are electronic title right now, and we're not quite there yet. So I'm already hearing some of the concerns that the dealer has, but I think once they get used to the system, I think they'll appreciate it. So for example, someone trades in their car and there's a lien on that car. The dealer that vehicle is being traded into can go into the database, immediately pay off the lien, and now you have a free and clear title. Now, with paper titles, if there's a lien on the face of the title, then we sometimes have to wait 7 to 10 business days to get a lien release from the lien holder.
What's that do for the notary, the whole notary part?
Not all states are notary states. The system will be an access-based system, so you will have to have the ability, the user, requirements in order to sign on and to be able to make these transfers. You'll have to be an agent for the company. But I think I don't think it's really going to impact that as much. But
yeah, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking it sounds like a win-win. Is part of one of the articles I was reading about Texas is that you will no longer be able to go to the DMV office to exchange your title. You'll have to do it electronically. Go log online, which could speed up the process because now you don't have to wait for a title runner or overnight.
Correct.
Snail mail.
Correct.
Yeah, think about how much money auctions spending overnight. FedEx and UPS. Remember those days? Are they still around?
Yeah, just tracking the title process, right? And the loss of titles. Again, we can get into that as well. But with the way the paper title is now for a state such as Michigan that has a paper title with multiple reassignments on the back, if you needed to get a duplicate title, only the person on the face of that title has the ability to get that duplicate. And if that title is transferred multiple times and the state's not aware of that, that last known owner may or may not be able to get that duplicate. Now, there's a way around that, but it does cause a little bit more time and money and research to try to find that title and figure out who is the rightful owner. The electronic title process will stop that.
So electronic title process, I log in and then it's going to tell me, bam, everything I need to know. Mm-hmm. And then I can do the transfer piece.
Correct. And there's systems now that tell you that, but again, they're only reading from the state system. So if that title has been through multiple auctions and reassigned to multiple dealers, again, you're only seeing the last bit of information that the state has. The electronic title process, I think, is going to be very beneficial. And that's, again, the wave of the future. I mean, what do you do if you lose that piece of paper? Do we need to talk about that? I mean, what do you do if you lose that piece of paper to a car? You and I've been there. We do it every week, right? You
got to file for a duplicate. How long does that take?
If you can get it. Well, it depends on the state. But again, if that title is in an individual's name and you don't have an appointment of agent or power of attorney to act on behalf of that individual, then you have to find another process. You can't just walk in and get a duplicate.
Okay, so that's a perfect example in a digital title. Let's use that one. Okay. So you're a dealer, you bring the car to auction and you sell it, but the title is still, for whatever reason, it's in the name of Joe Public.
Right.
So is there a way around that now with digital?
Well, it's not going to be in the name of Joe Public if you're an electronic title, because in order for that dealer to have ownership of that vehicle, let's say it's a wholesaler and he's went and purchased 20 cars from this franchise dealer up the street. That franchise dealer is going to go into the database and indicate that he has sold that car to this dealer. Okay. So now we would be able to see that dealer is the rightful owner of that vehicle and he has the ability. So the next step after he sells it at auction, we would then go in and transfer that to the buyer.
Okay. So
and remember, there's states that are already doing this.
I'm not the brightest street light in the block, okay, or even the town. All right. So mine's burning really low. So let's walk all the way through. I go into a dealership and I trade in my car. And let's even make it more complicated. I was going to keep it easy, but let's make it complicated. I got a lien on my car. I've got a loan. Okay. So I traded in. Ty's the new car store. I traded in. Ty is now giving me $5,000 for my trade-in. What does Ty do when I trade that car in to get that title into Ty's name?
Okay. So if you are in a paper state, right? If you are in and you don't have that title in your possession because the lien holder has it. So there's a couple different scenarios depending on the state you're in. But you do not have that title in your possession. There's a lien on it. Lien holder has that title. Then Ty Automotive has to send a wire or overnight a check to the lien holder to pay it off. That lien holder then either has to put a lien release and or sign the lien release on the front of the title. And then he would overnight or mail that title to you or to whomever you've given him the
person. So yeah, electronic now. So I've traded in the car to Ty. It's electronic.
Yep.
What does Ty do?
So Ty would go into the ELT system, or to the electronic lien, what's called ELT. He would go in, he would pay that vehicle off. He would show that it's paid off. And well, the system would know that it's paid off because he's going to do all of this within the same system. I'm going to back up just a little bit. The lien holders are also in this database. Okay. So the lien holders are also connected to this database. So Ty Automotive is going to go in. He is going to pay off that lien immediately once the funds are transacted. And then the title, and he can then put in there, where do I need to mail the title? So he would mail that title to Ty Automotive because he was the one that paid it off. And then the title would be sent directly to Ty Automotive with no lien on the title.
So it's no longer electronic though? Now it's paper?
If it's requested, you can request a paper copy. If there's no lien on it, and the rightful owner can request a copy.
So I'm a dealer. Traditionally, I keep those titles with me because for me as a dealer, that's cash, that's money.
Right.
And I'm not going to mess with it. I'm going to be careful. It's going to be my suitcase when I go to the auction if I'm smart enough to bring the titles. But so now, and this has been I don't know if conflict's the right word, but this has been a real challenge from what I can see, hear, understand. The auction's begging dealers, bring your titles with the cars. Is that true?
Oh, very true. Very true. Titles kind of self-regulate themselves because the sellers don't get paid until the title's in-house, right? So yes, we prefer the title to be there. We prefer to complete the transaction. Not only does the seller not get paid, but obviously we don't get paid from the buyer until the title comes in usually. So.
Okay,
yes,
so I would think that this would be a dream come true for an auction if we went to electronic titles.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
That's correct? Okay, good.
You would know the owner. You would know if there's an outstanding lien, and we see that at auctions from time to time too, where like someone's went in and got a duplicate, and all of a sudden this new, the original title appears. That original title makes its way to auction, but it's not the most recent title. So now, we've got to figure out how to fix that situation, because now the title that we've transferred to the buyer is not the most recent. That would be, we would know the rightful owner of the vehicle and the most recent title that's been issued.
Okay, so you made me think of something. So I consider myself operations guy. Go get the cars from the dealer, take them to the auction, get the cars from the auction, take them back to the dealer. And that's a lot of work that people don't know, and a lot of communication. But now what you just said really got me, whoa, wait a minute. I thought I had a lot of work. So you got an auction, let's say, running for fun, 1,000 cars a week. The average right now is we'll just say 50 because I'm not good at math, but 50% of those cars get sold. So that's 500 titles that somebody's got to keep track of right away.
Right.
That's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work because you got to be organized. You got to have a solid title inventory. You got to have very detail oriented people handling it. So it is a lot of work.
That ties into Rich's disc profile. Blue.
we want the blue personalities working in titles. We like them also to help out in condition report writing. We'd like to have some yellows and greens in sales because they're people oriented.
Right.
That's fun.
And then to run the whole show, you need a red. Let's get some work done. Let's go.
Right.
Yeah. Well, but so interesting too is this kind of, I was thinking this kind of ties in with what Rich talks about a lot, which is CAT. Have you heard us talk about CAT? Consistency, accuracy, and transparency. Right. So to me, if this comes real in 2025, 2026, nationwide, that really helps out the old consistency, accuracy, and transparency.
Absolutely. Wow. Absolutely. Because, titles come in all shapes and sizes. They're all different. Every state is different, but yet they're all the same. They all require the same information. Titles can be a little bit scary for some. Not everybody wants to touch a title, right? We don't allow some people to touch titles, right?
Don't want me touching.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want to have to correct any mistake, but they're really all the same. Yeah, they're just state specific.
Well, for the record, we'll go back in the Wayback Time Machine. Right out of college, my first job was working for Olympic Financial, automotive lender out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. So I went straight down to Minneapolis, got a job. My first job there, the first task I was given was to review microfiche, which is the old film you used to have. So you'd scan all the things in. It was old technology. Now I've really dated myself. My second job there was I was in charge of titles for the branches because we're all centralized. So I had I had the Seattle office, Nashville, Tennessee office, Minneapolis office, and the Phoenix, Arizona office. So anything that was bought from those buying centers I had. So I had to learn how to do Washington, Oregon. Never really saw in Idaho. Had a ton of Minnesota titles. You have to have a title card. You get to keep the title in Minnesota, but you got to have a title card. But so I actually did titles. I mean, this is way back time machine, but I was the title guy. And I kid you not, one of the favorite things that I had that I loved doing was usually they were on payoff. So a dealer would pay us off. So I had to sign off on the back, get it all done, then take a stack of them down, get them notarized, and I'd send them to the dealer or send them all out. But every once in a while, I'd get this weird one, and it was a repo. And I'd get excited. I'm like, wonder what happens next. At that time, I had no idea auctions even existed.
Yeah.
But that was my first taste of doing a title. They don't let me do them anymore.
Well, see, you had a little bit of blue in you at the time too, right?
Oh, I had a lot of blue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I still do.
Yeah.
And we talked about this in other shows, that what you do, your environment influences you. And Ty brought it up on a different podcast. So if you're in titles and you have some blue in you, naturally you're going to have more blue come out because it requires the detail. You got to pay attention. You got to follow the rules. If you're in sales and you got yellow in you, well, by all means, you're going to become more outgoing and more personable. It kind of fits. It kind of goes in with your environment. But let's go back to talking about titles, because titles are fascinating to me. I believe in some states, there is a title present issue. Walk us back a little bit through time, because now there's a blue light. I don't think everybody knows what the blue light is. It
means title absent or title attached in the industry that we're in, right?
In the old school.
And AAA requires us to say title attached. I prefer to say title absent.
Yes. Well, and I think what that comes from, I've done a little research and just talking to a couple of my lawyer friends. Title attached means that the title is not in-house and it's attached to the consummation of that sale. So in other words, it's not a final sale until the title is produced, which is where the attached comes from. This isn't done until this piece is attached to it. Then you have a complete piece. That's my understanding. But I do like, they always call them TA. I remember when I was in the late 1900s selling cars at the auction, I'm like, why do you call it title attached when it says TA? It should really be title absent. But yet now dealers will we touched on this a minute ago, dealers will come to sale, they'll have some cars, they put them in the consignment lane, and then there's no title. Where's my title? And
we're asked that question every day by buyers that are waiting because they can't resell those cars. They can't put them on their lots and resell them. They can't put money into them and start working on them until they have that physical title in their hand. They know that everything's clear. So
you've done titles all over. You're the title expert. Is there any part of the country that is better than another part at making or having a title present at auction for a dealer consignment versus another state? Because I've sold cars in a few states. I've worked at auctions in a few states. And presently where I'm at right now, I believe is probably one of the biggest offenders of not bringing a title to the sale.
And that is shocking to me. I mean, you obviously have the dealerships that the offices will not allow the titles to be released until the titles are sold. And then they, the dealers, the representatives go back to their offices. They pull the titles and they bring them. We have dealers from time to time that know or think they're going to get their title in a couple of weeks. So they go ahead and sell that car. The TA policy is different at most auctions. Most of them are 30 days, but they know that they're going to get that title. But you have the onesies and twosies that doesn't happen and it becomes a problem. But I wouldn't say that there is a state that I'm aware of that is worse than others. I think states go through transitions that cause delays, but I don't believe, or they go through time periods. Like some states have renewal of all tabs are at a certain time of the year. So when your state offices are renewing tabs, maybe they get backed up a little bit on the title process. But I don't believe that I'm not aware of a specific state that is just a difficult state that major delays.
Isn't Pennsylvania one of the states now that you actually have to have the title present?
And they just recently changed as well with some of their reassignment issues. But some auctions do require them to be present before you can sell a vehicle, period.
It's interesting because I think up in the Northeast, they're a little more strict than they are in other parts of the country. That's one of the places I haven't ever sold cars, but when talking with colleagues or buyers or sellers in that area, it's like, oh yeah, I can't even believe there's no title. It's like, yeah, we have that a lot in the South where there's not a title. Would you think that this might be a trust issue with the dealership saying, I'm going to send my cars to the auction, but I'm not going to give you the title because I'm not so sure that car is going to sell and I don't want the title out of my sight if I'm a controller at a dealership.
Of course, and you can't blame them for that sometimes. I think most all of your auctions do a really good job of their title inventory management system, but you can't blame them for that.
So just let's use where I'm at, for example, Texas. I've worked at a couple auctions. In the dealer consignment side, it seems to be a bigger issue than not to get the titles present. And we're always chasing them down. So in a situation like this, would it be beneficial to have a copy of the title to say, hey, look, I've already looked at the title. I know it exists. I can get it for you really fast. Or maybe the dealer brings it like old school. I remember the old guys, and Ty hit on this earlier. Bring the suitcase, you throw it up on the block, and you open up this, I got the title right here. Title's present. And then, but it's like they don't want to release it. It's like, okay, if I don't sell that car, I'm going to take it out. I'm going to put it back in my briefcase and then take it with me.
That's definitely old school. But I agree, some dealers are not going to release the title, but until the vehicle is sold, it's just not going to happen. I still see briefcases at the auction.
All right. So let's switch gears real quick. Let's talk about the titles in customer service, titles, revenue. How does that play in?
So I would say in my history of being at the auctions, the offices tend to be a little bit skeptical of handling any titles outside of the transactions that took place at the auction, and or reassigning a title to a buyer. And if that title is full, do we know what I mean by the title being full?
No.
Okay. So title has reassignments on the back. So we've taken seller, we've transferred to the buyer. There's no additional room for that buyer to then reassign to the next transaction.
Oh my goodness.
So the title is full. You're going to have to take it to the state, and you're going to have to transfer it to a brand new title with now new open reassignments. There's an opportunity there for the auctions to assist that customer, to service that buyer, to go above and beyond and help that buyer get a new title. We have power of attorney to act on, in most states and at most auctions, you have a power of attorney to act on behalf of that buyer. So you can help him by transferring that title. We have the contacts at the auction. We have the state contacts. We have the ability. We're experts in this field. Having the opportunity or providing that service to the buyer can become a huge benefit, not only to the buyer, but to the customer service that's being offered at the auction. And I don't think a lot of auctions think that way. I think they want to handle that one transaction, they want to transfer it, and they want to be done with it. So the auction has an opportunity to say, hey, buyer, let me help you with the next step. A lot of our dealers are maybe smaller dealers. Maybe they don't have an office team or an office staff that they can go and give them all of this paperwork. And they can't sell that car until that title is ready to go and ready to be transferred again. I teach my team to look at the title. If it's full or needs something, then offer that service to the buyer for a fee. We charge $75. I mean, it can become an ancillary service for the auction, and that dealer rather pay you to do it than have to take time away from his business, or maybe time out of the auction lanes or time out of his store to have to go and stand in line at the state office.
Yeah.
It's definitely an opportunity for auctions that I think will be missed in a lot of cases.
That's an interesting point, because you look at what are opportunities, where are places you can pick up more revenue, you can do more things. How do you add to your customer service? If you want to be an auction that's really truly about helping the dealer, what other things can you do? So interesting thing that pops in my head, and I think I want to get your take on it, is if I'm a dealer and I'm going to look for a title expert, where do I go?
You trying to hire one, or are you just asking for questions?
No, you got a title problem. So let's even say let's say it's a retail transaction and you got a problem with the title. How many of these people actually go, oh, I know Tonya at the auction and she's really good with titles. I bet you she could get us out of this retail jam and fix this title. How many people actually think like that? Dealers.
Well, in our case, I don't think a lot of dealers do on the norm. In our case, at our auction, they know we're title experts, and we help our dealers with transactions that don't necessarily take place at the auction. So they know they can come to us and we'll help them. We'll at least give them guidance. We'll at least tell them what the state's requirements are in order to get a bonded title or to fix that title if that's what needs to happen. We'll put them in contact with the lien holder if there's a lien situation. Again, it's all about customer service and helping the customers. I mean, they want to do business where they enjoy. And I believe this is one, again, we get a lot of phone calls from dealers that need our assistance, and it's not on a transaction that actually went through our auction. So it may not be a vehicle that we sold, but they know we're title experts. They know we have the contacts with the state, and they know we'll help give them guidance. And in return, we've got a great partner in our business. They're going to keep coming and buying cars. They're going to bring us their titles. We have wholesalers that bring us, 20 titles, and we sit there and go through their titles, and we help them get to a condition that is ready to be transferred. And we, again, charge a fee for that service, but it's a service that we offer to the customers. So now they can sell their car and they can get paid, and they don't ever have to look back and know that there's a title issue.
I got a question. At your auction where you are the title expert and your dealers know that you're the title expert and know that you charge a fee, do you have like a sign somewhere where they walk in and it says title right here? Everybody knows to go there.
At our auction, we're fully transparent when it comes to fees. So the title service is on our fee schedule.
Yeah.
It's
but
not.
Well, I was saying, but it sounds like you've marketed this. Like you've branded it. You've told your dealers every week, hey, we do titles.
Yeah.
So as I'm hearing this, I'm thinking, okay. So just today alone, I was at 3 different auctions and I didn't see that at any of them.
Well, I think we become one track minds. It's like, hey, we sell cars, and I know I've been at auctions where we said, okay, let's chase down dealers because we got a mechanic shop. Let's sell them more mechanic repair shop services. But I think every auction out there, I've never been to an auction where there's not at least one person behind that front office that doesn't know titles. There's always one in there that is like the rock star. How do you leverage those services? How do you mine that information? And I think you just touched on it, Tonya. Like, hey, we can do this. We can help you with your titles. There's going to be a fee for it, and we can do it. Do you want to wait a DMV? Do you want us to do it? Do you want to hire somebody outside? Do you want to send your title? I know of third-party title services, but you got to overnight them the titles, and they go through and do all this rigmarole. They do all the applications, and they send it back to you. Well, now your title, I think if we talk about a traditional auction and you want to walk in and know and see face-to-face who you're working with, that is something that needs to be done.
And there should be someone at every location that is an expert in their field and that has the state contacts, that knows how to answer the question. If they don't know the answer to the question, then they should know where to go get the answer to the question.
Well, goodness gracious, we're in trouble in Texas then. But I will say that I'm going to try to be humble, but I'm probably a pretty good helper. Other than that, outside of that, I don't know what I'm good at, but I can help. So You touched on, we have time for one more question, one more topic. Awesome. Absolutely. You just mentioned something earlier. You said, I teach my team how to. You don't only teach your team, you also help our friends at Auction Academy. You are an Auction Academy professor.
I wouldn't call myself a professor. Yes,
Dr. Tonya.
I enjoy sharing my knowledge and helping the class. I fully support Auction Academy. Rich, you and I know exactly why that there's a reason and there's a need for that in our industry. And I'm a presenter. I'm a provider of information at Auction Academy to the class.
If there's somebody working at an auction right now watching this video and they want to know, they're on the fence. Do I go talk to my general manager or my supervisor, my boss, about going to Auction Academy?
Yes. So if you are aware of it, not all auctions advertise it, right? I think they should. I think there should be an application process. We typically will recommend someone that we believe not only needs the information, it's going to find value in the information that's going to be provided, but it's also is willing and ready to grow with the company.
Yeah.
And it'll come back and share their information.
Yes. Yes. And they get to learn from you, from Dr. Tonya.
Dr. Tonya Titles.
PhD of titles.
PhD in titles. I love it.
We're bestowing a new
Dr. Tonya. We were going to call you
Tonya.
That auction queen, but I think I like Dr. Tonya.
I do too.
It has a little bit of a ring to it.
I like that.
Dr. Tonya, PhD of titles.
Yeah.
Now accepting her award for, what is it, National Auto Marketing Women of the Year?
Yes. Yeah. This year. Yeah. That's quite an honor. Quite an honor.
Who do I need to pick up the phone and call so that when you walk across stage and you get that honor, they say, Dr. Tonya, PhD of titles. I'm going to make this happen.
We're going to make it happen. We're going to do it.
We're going to do it. We're going to figure out how to do this somehow.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. Don't embarrass me. I'm already going to be embarrassed enough. But
well, you've earned it. Please don't be embarrassed. I mean, you've earned it. I've known you for a little over 20 years. You've been stand-up human being. You help people. You do titles. You do all this other stuff. And for crying out loud, you put up with people like me and other auction guys that I may or may not know. So you're definitely royalty when it comes to the auto auction industry. And thank you.
It's been a fun road, that's for sure. And it's not over yet. It's been a fun road. So, and we learn every day. You know, I'll go to Auction Academy and I will learn from those students, hopefully as much as they learn from me. You never meet someone that's in this business that you don't pick up something from. Maybe it's not always something you want to pick up, but you know, it is interesting to hear. And I get phone calls all over the United States for people that are looking for assistance. You know, especially in the Canadian title world because of our centralized location in Michigan. We do a lot of Canadian ownerships to U.S. title transfers. So I've kind of become known for that in the industry, and I get a lot of phone calls from, you know, our sister auctions, not only sister auctions, but other auctions in Florida and Texas and California and Washington. Just, you know, how do we handle this if it's a sticky situation?
We handed your
if
number
I don't
out.
know, I'll figure it out, you know?
Good. Well,
And we'll share our information.
So anyway.
We do it every day. And you know what? You touched on something a few seconds ago, Rich, about the title. You know, and maybe Ty, maybe it was you. Like, do you advertise this? Right? We talk to our customers about it all the time. But we've actually created an international title department at our auction. We produce and transfer about 500 titles a week and not all of those vehicles go through our auction. We're transferring 500 titles a week for vehicles that we're selling at the auction. But our international title department handles about 500 titles a week, and those come from various sources. A lot of them are Canadian ownerships that we're converting to Michigan titles, but some of them are just titles where wholesalers, you know, went and bought 50 cars and he needs our help. Or they're bonded titles because we've got 10 dealers that have lost their titles because they're not organized. They can't keep up with them. They're not blue. He can't keep up with his paperwork. So he loses titles, right? He's not detail oriented. He makes a mistake or he's done something wrong. So he comes to us and we help them get a bonded title. We help them determine what's the best course of getting a good, clear title so they can resell the vehicle. So it's a great
doing
opportunity.
Two things. Mm-hmm. You're helping actually get a physical title, but you're also giving guidance or knowledge. You're sharing knowledge. This is the best route. Like if you walk into a doctor's office, hey, here's what I think you need to do to get over whatever your illness is. Or you walk into an account, hey, you want to save on taxes? Here's what I think you should do. But you're doing that with titles. You're giving out title advice.
Exactly. And we'll either help give them guidance or we'll do it for them. And most of the time they want us to do it for them because it's a lot less work for those guys, right? And they're willing to pay for it. You know, they don't have someone that can help them. So
I call that what you give away is what you keep. Sounds like you've been doing a good job at that.
we do. And again, it's full circle. You know, they appreciate the help. And so they become our partners in this industry.
That's a really cool story, by the way. I didn't know that, but I love it. It's really exciting. Good information. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Meet Me at the Gate. I hope the conversation has helped to fuel your drive and equip you with insights to steer your team towards success. Remember, the road to success is always under construction. And until next time, keep your engines revving and your gas tanks full.